Well, hello everybody. Welcome to our Expedia Cruises Thursday night travel talk. Tonight we are featuring American Queen Steamboat Company, Mississippi River Cruises. So for those on the call that have not attended a Zoom meeting, everyone is muted. You do have control if you want the video of yourself on or off, that's up to you. If you have questions, please feel free to use the chat feature and we will try to answer all of those in the questions that are listed in the chat. We'll answer them in the chat or after the presentation. My name is Amanda Cummings. I'm one of the consultants at Expedia Cruises. Tonight's travel talk is being hosted by 6 Expedia Cruises locations in the Edmonton area. We have been doing these travel talks to inspire and educate you about what is happening in the travel industry. We are coming now at 16 months of the date that travel shut down. If you are on this call, you probably love to travel. Travel fulfills us, and that is why we do it. And if you're like me, you are missing it. Although it's not the right time to travel right now, it is the right time to plan. Studies have shown that approximately 40% of the pleasure of a trip comes from planning one. This last year has been challenging, and sometimes what makes me smile is the thought of where I want to go next, even if I can't go there quite yet. Will it be a relaxing vacation with warm sand and beaches, or perhaps a trip to Barcelona to see the Sagrada Familia or Rome's Colosseum? Perhaps something a bit more exotic, such as a safari in Africa. Whatever your dreams are, our Expedia Cruises consultants can help you make them come true. Now more than ever, the professional advice of a travel consultant is needed. Our consultants are here to help you navigate the new complexities of travel and make sure your vacation is safe and seamless. At Expedia Cruises, we are committed to finding you the best value for your travel dollars, and we are more than just cruises. Our name is Expedia Cruises, Air, Land, and Sea Vacations. We can help you plan all the components in your vacations. Best of all, we are in your neighborhoods so you can shop local. Now I would like to introduce tonight's special guest, Olga Sebastova from Cruise Strategies, representing American Queen Steamboat Company. Welcome, Olga.
Thank you so much, Amanda. And I will share my screen. Good evening, everyone, and thank you again for your time in joining me today to chat about American Queen Steamboat Company. I am the local Canadian representative and will be taking you through the itineraries and the ships that we have sailing close to home. So you don't have to take a transatlantic airplane to sail on one of our ships. So to just give you a little bit of a background of, and it's not moving. Sorry about that, guys. I will try that again. Did it move? Amanda, can you nod if it moved? Awesome. Sorry about that. So our parent company is called Hornblower Holdings, and it has been in business for over 30 years. You may know our Alcatraz, Niagara Falls, or Statue of Liberty cruises. We operate hundreds of vessels that are serving municipalities, national parks, government, as well as military services. And back in 2012, the parent company has purchased a boat called the American Queen and established an American Queen Steamboat Company. That's how we got into the overnight cruise business. And in 2019, we added Victory Cruise Lines, purchased 2 of their ships, fully refurbished them, had a wonderful season in 2019 in the Canadian waters, and then COVID came. In the meantime, we've built another vessel, an expedition ship we added to the line, and off we go. So we have 2 overnight cruise divisions under the Hornblower umbrella. We call ourselves uniquely American. What that means is that the ships are built in the United States. They are sailing under the US flag, and they are staffed by full-time US employees. So all of our crew, all of our officers are full-time employees. We believe that having a happy employee will also mean that we will have happy guests on board, and our guests who come back over and over again are always happy to see the same familiar faces, and it's worked out really well. We are fully bonded just like any other river or ocean going cruise line. So you definitely don't have to worry about being with a company like American Queen Steamboat Company. We operate 4 authentic paddle wheelers on 2 different destinations in the United States. We have the American Queen. She's our flagship, and she's the ship that started it all. Last year, she celebrated 25th anniversary. Then in 2014, we added the American Empress. In 2017, the American Duchess. And this year, the baby just launched, the American Countess. She's our newest vessel, and she was supposed to originally launch last year, and of course because of COVID we had to postpone. She launched at the end of March and has been successfully sailing on the Mississippi since her launch. We have 2 main destinations that we cover in the United States. We have the Pacific Northwest, and that we sail along the Columbia and Snake Rivers between Clarkston and Vancouver, Washington. You can do an identical itinerary in either direction. It doesn't matter whether you start in Clarkston or in Vancouver, you see the same thing. Now, the one thing that is different is that each of our voyage includes a pre-cruise hotel night that is included in your fare. So you will always get a hotel night with your cruise. Now, so the only difference is if you want to spend your hotel night in Spokane, because you would fly into Spokane, you would spend the night at the historic Drake Hotel, then take a transfer to Clarkston and sail towards Vancouver. Or if you want to fly into Portland, spend the night in Portland and sail from Vancouver to Clarkston. When you sail from Clarkston to Vancouver, we follow the 1805 Lewis and Clark voyage. So we go in the footsteps of the famous American explorers, Lewis and Clark. Now, the Columbia River Gorge is one of the most beautiful places in the United States. It is absolutely breathtaking. So you're not talking only historical sites, forts, and pioneer villages that you see along the way. There's beautiful scenery, waterfalls, gorges, and there's also a very nice wine region. So there's a little bit of something for everyone who sails on the Columbia and Snake Rivers. And it is a bit of a outdoorsy adventure, fairly active. Now, the ship that will take you to the Columbia and Snake River is the American Empress. Under normal circumstances, she carries 221 guests. Because of COVID, we've been sailing with half the capacity on all of our vessels. So anytime I give you a number, that's the number we normally carry. This year, of course, we're sailing half capacity so that we can observe all of the health and wellness and safety requirements that come with sailing under COVID. So this vessel is styled in the Gold Rush style era. So to give you a little bit of a glimpse of the inside, you will see the design. Everything is reminiscent of the Gold Rush. This is the alternative dining venue for breakfast, lunch, as well as dinner. It's a reservation only in the dinner time, but it is, of course, there's no charge for that. This is what it looks like on the inside. There's an inside and an outside seating, depending on your likes and dislikes, as well as the weather, of course. And this would be our show lounge and paddle wheel lounge. And we have an onboard gallery. The ship is filled with artifacts from the early gold rush days, from Alaska, from indigenous lives, as well as old Russian artifacts, and they are all displayed on the ship for our guests to view and to read about. So let's say you're walking to the show lounge in the evening and you want to, you come across a piece that really catches your attention. Each of these pieces is numbered, and you can just go back to your stateroom at the end of the evening. Look, there's a book in your stateroom. All of these pieces are in the book, and it will give you a little bit more of the history of that piece that you admired during the day. Lots of outdoor space for you to enjoy and to see the beautiful sights along the river. This is just to give you an idea of the occupancy staterooms and what the accommodation looks like. Most of the staterooms and suites on this vessel have access from the outside deck. So instead of going through the indoor, you entering your suite from the outside. We offer single, double, triple, and quad occupancy. So if you want to sail with your grandchildren or with your children, with friends, and you want to share accommodation, that is all available to you. This would be a fairly standard double occupancy stateroom. Now, our biggest destination that we service, we have 3 ships that are sailing the America's heartland. And that means the Mississippi River and her tributaries. We have itineraries that cover the lower Mississippi between New Orleans and Memphis, the upper Mississippi, which is typically between Memphis and Red Wing. Red Wing is the entry to Minneapolis. And we also have the tributaries, which would be the Ohio, Cumberland, Tennessee, and sometimes Illinois rivers. So for those of you who are familiar with Mississippi, you probably know that the upper Mississippi between Memphis and Red Wing is a bit more scenic than what you see on the lower Mississippi. There's a reason why the lower Mississippi is called the Big Muddy, okay? It really is kind of brownish and muddy. But the upper Mississippi is very picturesque. A lot of towns and cities have been built along the upper Mississippi with beautiful waterfronts. So when we dock in one of those towns, you can just walk off the vessel and you are in the cafes and boutiques areas and the galleries and the museums, easily reachable on foot. There's also 3 national parks along the river. So a lot of wildlife, beautiful scenery, steep cliffs, lots to see and lots to do along the upper Mississippi. The lower Mississippi between Memphis and New Orleans, this is where the historic South, so the plantation, the mansions, the cotton fields, the Civil War battlefields, this is the area that you will see if you take a lower Mississippi cruise. And then we have the tributaries, which typically run between Memphis and Louisville, Memphis and Clarksville, Louisville, Clarksville, and Louisville, Pittsburgh. You could also have some cruises that start or end in Cincinnati. Now, these are not necessarily one-offs, because pretty much you can sail them throughout the whole year, but they typically come with a theme. So if you are a horse racing fan and you've always dreamed of visiting the Kentucky Derby, we have every year, the first weekend in May, we have the Kentucky Derby Voyage. And it goes between Cincinnati and Louisville, or Cincinnati round trip. All of the guests get to enjoy the Kentucky Derby onboard atmosphere. There's an amazing, great steamboat race where our vessel takes part against iconic Belle of Louisville and Belle of Cincinnati. Sometimes we win, sometimes we don't. But then there's also a special add-on package that you can purchase that would give you the VIP experience for Kentucky Derby. We also have Rhythm of the Rivers. Those are our music theme cruises, also most of the time on the tributaries, because you get to visit Nashville, for example. If you're a big country music fan, you have to do one of the Nashville sailings. This year was the last year that we were doing the big band, but next year we'll have the music of the 50s, the 60s, we are adding the 70s, and we have the American Music Festival, we have the blues, and we have the jazz festival on board as well. So if music is something you're into, definitely talk to your Expedia Cruises advisor, because they can find a voyage that you will be very happy with. We also have a Civil War history theme departures, and we have culinary and spirits. So for example, we have a bourbon voyage, Cajun Creole culinary sailing. All of these theme voyages usually come with something a little bit extra than the regular departures don't have. Little extra inclusions, additional shore excursions, some behind the scene access that you wouldn't be able to do on your own. Now, I would like to take you through our most popular voyage, and that's the Lower Mississippi. Almost all of our first-time guests who've never sailed with American Queen Steamboat Company before start their sailings with the Lower Mississippi. And just like I was telling you with the Pacific Northwest, you have a choice of starting either in Memphis or in New Orleans, and where you start will determine where you do your hotel night. Now, both of those cities are filled with things to do and see. So I would highly recommend, no matter where you start, that you add an additional hotel night, at least 1 or 2 hotel nights, to really enjoy this destination. Now, if you want a leisurely sailing along the river, I would recommend you start in New Orleans and you go upriver to Memphis, because there's still some industrial traffic along the Mississippi. And the traffic going down river from Memphis to New Orleans has right of way. So the upriver sailing is slightly bit slower than downriver. We have a couple of days where we are in port maybe only till 3 o'clock instead of 6 or 7. And we also have 1 full day on the river. So if you just want to sit on the porch and in a rocking chair and watch the river go by as you are reading your book or watching the scenery, the upriver New Orleans to Memphis is the voyage for you. When you go from Memphis to New Orleans, it's full day in port every single day. And we actually, the day that we don't have any sailing days, every single day you're in the port, and there's an extra stop, and that would be in Baton Rouge. So taking you through New Orleans to Memphis departure. New Orleans, of course, was founded by the French in 1718. It was briefly owned by the Spanish, so you'll see both French and Spanish influence in the architecture of the city and how it was designed in a grid. And it was purchased by the United States in 1803 under the Louisiana Purchase. It's always been a very important American port, of course, originally bringing goods from France to New Orleans and from the Caribbean, and as well as the slaves for the plantations. All were coming through New Orleans. It's a must-see city. Of course, it's you've heard that it's being called Big Easy. That only came about in 1960s, when one of the travel writers for New York Times was comparing the Big Apple and the hectic lifestyle that people in Big Apple live, compared to the laid-back atmosphere that she encountered in New Orleans. So that's why the moniker Big Easy. There's the French district you get to visit, the Garden district. You can take a hop-on, hop-off tour through the Mardi Gras Parade Route. We have the St. Louis Cathedral as featured, the Jackson Square, St. Louis Cemetery. Like I said, there's just so much to do that even if you come the day before and you spend a night in a hotel, you really haven't done the city a justice. And then I'm not even talking about the cafes and the restaurants and all the wonderful food that you get to eat. Now, Nottoway Plantation in Louisiana is our exclusive stop. So only American Queen Steamboat Company stops at this plantation. It's South's largest remaining antebellum mansion. Now, antebellum meaning pre-war. So it was finished, construction was finished in 1859. It features 15-foot high ceilings, 6 staircases, 64 rooms. It even has a ballroom, and of course, large garden area as well. We are there all day. We are the boat really very easily lands. That's the really good way of landing just about anywhere along the Mississippi. All you have to do is walk across the levee and you are on the lawn of the mansion. Now, if you have any mobility issues or you don't want to walk, we have golf carts in every single port of call. Anytime you need to walk to the motor coach or just to get somewhere, we have golf carts that can take you. You don't have to worry about any access at all. There's no steep staircases. There are no steep gangways. These ships are super easy to get on and off. So we're all day in Nottoway Plantation. The tours will usually take maybe 2.5 hours. There's a long history of the family that built it, that lives there, and the tour guides are dressed in costumes, and it just brings up the whole area and the history alive. In about the last 12 years or so, the owners have invested about $14 million into renovation and upkeep of the mansion. So everything is in a really good shape, and it's a pleasure. It's a really nice stop to enjoy. Now, this is the only stop that we don't use our motor coaches unless you have purchased an additional trip going somewhere else. The next stop is San Francisville in Louisiana. Now, this is the oldest town in the Florida parishes in Louisiana. It was established in 1809. And the locals joke that the place is 2 miles long and 2 yards wide. That's how small and picturesque it is. But it actually has 140 buildings on the National Register. So there's a lot of antebellum period homes, churches, chapels. There's lots to do, lots to see, beautiful parks, architecture, also boutiques, cafes, restaurants. It's a very quiet and very relaxing place to visit. And then we go to Natchez. Natchez is, that's a busy day. Be prepared for a busy day in Natchez because it's the oldest town in Mississippi, founded in 1716, and it was made rich by cotton. All the cotton plantation owners had homes in Natchez, these humongous plantation homes with 20-foot ceilings and filled with beautiful French furniture imported, and it is in impressive preservation of history because they've kept it up. And there are about 10 different mansions that you get to visit that day if you want to, of course. You don't have to, but there's just so much to do, so much to see. And it always was a very popular stop during the old steamboating days back in the 1900s, where, you know, the boats up and down the Mississippi. Natchez was always popular because of the position and how beautiful that town is. And now our next stop is in Vicksburg in Mississippi. Now, of course, Abraham Lincoln called Vicksburg the key to the South, and it was a very strategic location during the Civil War. And there's a lot of history, Civil War history, the battlefields, the museums. There's a USS Cairo you can visit, and very popular siege of Vicksburg. The rangers, the tour guides that take you through the battlefields are some of the best tour guides I have ever had on any of my trips. Most of them have been doing this for 25, 30 years. They know every single monument. They know the personal history of the person behind the monument, of the fallen, of the leaders and the deserters. They just know it all, and they make the day fascinating. Now, if you're not into a Civil War history, there's plenty of other things to do at Vicksburg. Maybe you didn't know that The first Coca-Cola ever was bottled in 1894 in Vicksburg. So of course we have a Coca-Cola museum that you can visit. There's also a river museum because in 1927, the Mississippi had a really devastating flooding. And there's a museum where you can not only learn everything there is to know about the river, but also about this flood, all the information if you're interested. And for those who are not interested in any of this, we have ATV adventures, we have golf if you wanted to, or again, Vicksburg is a very picturesque, beautiful place, wonderful for strolling and just enjoying the day ashore. Then we go to Greenville. We actually, on the map, if you're looking at one of our brochures, you will very likely see this mentioned as the ports of the Mississippi Delta. And that includes Greenville, Helena, and Tunica. And these three places, historically very poor, absolutely always on the poorest list in the United States. The only thing that was interesting was cotton fields, and there's a famous blues trail along the Highway 61, which is actually called the Blues Highway. And there is a blues museum, and of course, anyone who is interested in B.B. King would want to visit Blues Museum. Now, there's a rags to riches kind of a story behind the ports of Mississippi, especially at Tunica. Back in 1992, the Gaming Control Act brought casinos to Tunica, and with casinos came hotels, and with hotels came tourists and multi-lane highways and outlet malls and a new airport and all the construction. And would you not believe this, that from one of the poorest places in the United States, this is now one of the wealthiest places. So whether you are into blues or cotton, because we also take you to, and there's cotton and music, you can also spend the day in the casino. It's right there by the boat. When we disembark, this casino right there for you to visit. And then we end our voyage in Memphis, Tennessee. And of course, home of the blues, birthplace of rock and roll. Anyone who is an Elvis fan would want to visit Graceland. This is a picture of Elvis's mansion. And again, it's kind of funny because it's always referred to as Elvis's mansion. But when you see those antebellum plantation houses, those are mansions. Elvis actually lived on a small scale, tell you the truth. It's not that big. There's also the Beale Street with all the clubs and music theme and street musicians that you get to witness, and the famous Peabody Hotel, where every day in the afternoon the little ducks march across the lobby in formation. There's just so much to do in Memphis. So again, no matter whether you start your cruise in Memphis or New Orleans, you will find lots to do, lots to see, and I would highly encourage that you add additional hotel nights at the end as well. Now, on the Mississippi, we have three wonderful paddle wheelers. Our flagship, she's the last steam-powered paddle wheeler in the world. So she's iconic, very Victorian-like, nostalgic. When you sail on her on the Mississippi, you kind of feel like you know what it was like in the 1900s, in the days of the steam-powered ships going up and down the river. It really, if you're going into that part of the world and you want to experience it the way it's meant to be experienced, and this ship brings that destination to life. To be on a European river-style vessel or on a yacht or any other kind of a vessel doesn't make sense. You really want to be on a vessel that fits. It fits with the environment that you're going to be sailing in. So typically, pre and post-COVID, we sail with about 417 guests on board. We also, because she's steam powered, she has a calliope, steam powered calliope, and we play calliope music as we leave the port every single day. This is the dining room to give you an idea. Now, normally, because we carry 417 guests, we have to offer early and late dining for dinner on this vessel. Now, during COVID, we do early and late dining on all of the vessels, even the smaller ones that normally have open seating dining. So if you're thinking traveling at the, in 2021, maybe in the fall when the border opens, we definitely have all the precautions. Everything is taken care of, and we've been sailing on the Mississippi since February without absolutely any COVID cases on board. So as you can see, beautifully designed dining room. This is our front porch cafe. That's your alternative dining venue for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Indoor and outdoor option again. This is our salon. This is where the evening shows are. Now, the boxes that you see on the top, those are reserved for our suite guests. So if you are in a suite accommodation, one of those boxes would be yours to enjoy the evening shows from. This is what the staircase looks like. Mark Twain Gallery. We have the ladies' parlor, the gentleman's card room, and this is the engine room viewing area. Now, a little bit of an interesting information. As I said, the ship is now 26 years old. She celebrated 25 years sailing last year. Unfortunately, we couldn't do much with COVID being around, so we couldn't celebrate all that much. But the engine of this ship was actually dredged 26 years ago from the bottom of the Mississippi and fully restored. And she's been sailing with this sunken engine for the last 26 years, no problems at all. Her pistons have to be oiled every 20 minutes. So there is always an engineer oiling away, and you have a choice as a guest on board to anytime just walk downstairs and chat with the engineer, find out if you're interested in any of these details, how the engine operates, how often they have to do the maintenance, how the wheel operates. He answers all of those questions. We also do pilot house tours for anyone who is interested. So that gives you more information into the navigation of the river and the interesting tidbits about that. This is our owner suite accommodation. On this vessel, we can take single, double, triple, or quad occupancy. So this gives you an idea. This is a private veranda for the owner suite. This is a veranda that comes with, if you see on the deck plan that it says open veranda, this is what your stateroom or suite would have. It's a shared space with all the other staterooms. It kind of promotes camaraderie and friendliness, and you get to meet all the other people. So watch out when you're booking your trip for the private versus open veranda. And another double occupancy. Just to give you an idea of the styling, this would be our smallest inside stateroom, and we book this on a double or single occupancy. Now, the second vessel that sails on all the Mississippi itineraries is the American Duchess, and she's our smallest. She carries 166 guests. She launched in 2017. And as you can see on the outside, she's fairly similar in that typical, wedding cake type of a look of a paddle wheeler. But on an inside, she is a modern, contemporary boutique style hotel. Beautiful chandeliers, crystal. You wouldn't know you are with this ship, you wouldn't know you're on the boat. Library, this is the lounge. This is where the entertainment as well, the port talks and the education series take place. The dining room, which this one always is open seating, but during COVID, we're doing 2 seatings. River Terrace, this is our alternative dining venue for inside and outside dining, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Here you can sit, have your breakfast or lunch, and watch the paddle wheel in action. We also have barbecues, so outside, so you can have your hot dogs, hamburgers, ribs, whatever you feel like. We have a quite spacious top deck. And then these are the type of places, let's say you are in a stateroom that doesn't have its own veranda and you just want to find a nook and cranny where you want to read your book. This is one of the most spacious ships I have ever been on. Even with 166 guests, it feels very spacious and you will find private space. With 80 or 90 that we're sailing with this year, it will feel like your own private yacht. And this is the owner suite that comes with your butler. This is an interesting accommodation that's available only on the Duchess. It's called the Loft Suite. It accommodates 4 guests and it has 2 full bathrooms, 1 on each level. And this is the lower level. This is the seating area. This would be a sample of a bathroom that you would get in the owner deluxe or the Loft Suites. And then this would be your standard accommodation bathroom. So it's plenty of, I had this one, it's plenty of space, lots of space, even for 2 people to get ready for dinner or to go ashore. And we offer double or triple occupancy. This is the veranda. This is the most popular accommodation that we have on board. And also the biggest number of these staterooms we have. And this would be our smallest inside stateroom. This is the only of our 4 vessels that doesn't have a designated single category. So if you are a single traveler and you want to sail on the Duchess, you would end up paying a single supplement, whether it's a 50, 75 or 200%. It depends on the departure. And then the baby of the company would be the American Countess. As I mentioned, she started sailing in March of this year and has completed multiple itineraries, obviously, since then. And she normally carries 245 guests. Again, on the outside, looks like a traditional paddle wheeler. As you can see in the front, those ladders, this is how you disembark. So we just pull up to the shore, put those down. It's a pretty, there's no uphill, there's no difficult getting on and off the ship. These are super easy. They have, of course, elevators that you can get to all the accommodation levels. The only thing on the Duchess, there's no elevator to get to the pilot house. So you cannot do the pilot tour if you have a limited ability to move. But other than that, everywhere offshore and on board, you can get around very easily. And again, just like the Duchess, very contemporary, modern, unlike the American Queen. This would be the lounge. This is where your entertainment is taking place and your port talks, the library and the dining room. And this is your sample accommodation, very similar to the Duchess in the size as well as in the styling. And this would be our smallest 170 square feet inside stateroom. Now, the stateroom accommodation doesn't have any additional services, but the suite accommodation has these Commodore and butler services. So Commodore, it's more like amenities, things like a fruit in your stateroom, a bottle of wine in your stateroom, preferred seating. If you are on the American Queen and you definitely want to have an early dining instead of a late dining, because early is at 5:15, late is at 7:45. If you are in a suite accommodation, you have a choice of what dining time is assigned to you. The same thing with the evening entertainment and the lounge access. Now with the butler services, that's more like packing and unpacking of your luggage, laundry, dry cleaning, shoe shine. You can have your pre-dinner hors d'oeuvres served in your suite. You can have your post-dinner dessert served. You can have breakfast or dinner served on your veranda. Just a little bit of an elevated service. Sometimes we have single We have two ladies traveling together in a suite accommodation, and when they go to the dinner or when they go to the evening show, they like to be escorted by the butler, so they don't want to be walking by themselves. Those kind of services are offered on board. We have recreation and wellness. American Queen is the only one that has the little plunge pool. It's good if you're in the south, in the middle of the summer, and you need a little cool off. We also have a little spa on board. 3 out of the 4 vessels have a fitness center, and all of our vessels have complimentary bicycles on board that you can borrow at anytime you feel like doing your own exploring on the bike. And we also have walking poles. So if you prefer to walk with walking poles, again, free of charge, available to you on any of our voyages. Now, I'm sure you all want to know what's included in the cruise fare. So as I mentioned, all of our departures have a pre-cruise hotel night. So you fly into the city, you check into your hotel. We have a concierge desk. You're checking in for your cruise as well. So the next day when you get on board, you already have your boarding card. There's no long lineup at all. Your luggage gets transferred directly from your hotel room to your stateroom on board. So you don't have to lug it back down to the lobby, through the hotel, onto the motor coach. If you want to keep your carry-on, if you want to keep your, if you have valuables or medication, of course you can keep your carry-on with you. Nobody would prevent you to do that. But your big suitcase goes directly from your hotel room to your stateroom. Breakfast in the morning is included. When you're checking in, you also get your transfer voucher to the ship. So the next day, if you're, let's say, in New Orleans and you're boarding the ship or you're departing the ship at 3 o'clock, you have almost all day still to explore the city. Now, in New Orleans, we have 2 hotels. Usually, if you're on one of the smaller vessels, we stay at the Intercontinental, and then you take the motor coach to the ship at your designated time. You have the transfer voucher. But if you're on the Queen, we often stay at the Hilton, which is right on the waterfront, and you can virtually walk from the Hilton onto the boat at your leisure. You don't need a voucher, you don't need to get on a motor coach. So if your documents say that you can board at 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock, you can walk on directly from the hotel right through the lobby. We offer regionally inspired dining. We have 24-hour room service, special dietary menus, as well as alternative dining venues. The special dietary menu we have is vegan, vegetarian, and gluten-free. The only one we don't offer at this time is kosher. Now, when I say regionally inspired, that means that on top of all the dining options, and believe me, there are plenty. You can have a filet mignon every day. You can have a lobster every day. Of course, there's chicken, pork, lamb on the menu every day. But we also have regionally inspired dishes. So if we are down in the south, you will have maybe more Creole Cajun style options. If we are out in the Pacific Northwest, there's going to be salmon, there's going to be crab, there are going to be mussels, those type of dishes. That is on top of all the other options. We include all beverages. So water, of course, tea, coffee, specialty coffees, juices, all of your soda, pop, wine, beer, and liquor all day long. We have what we call a house menu. Now, don't be thinking this is 2 whites, 2 reds, and a couple of cocktails. No, there's a big book with the menu that's what we call house. So there's a full page of white wines, full page of red wines, full page of beer. Now, if there is something that you like specifically and it is not on the menu and it is your preferred brand, you can of course get it as well. There might be a small upcharge, maybe $2 per glass, but it is available to you. You don't have to worry that your favorite drink is not going to be available. Now, we have Broadway caliber entertainment. A lot of our entertainers do actually come from Broadway, so those are good quality shows. And we have a great value onboard enrichment program. Each of our voyage is escorted, or on each of our voyage, we have a riverlorian. That's the gentleman or a lady in the top right-hand corner. Now, it's quite a mouthful, but these are quite the experts on everything, on the area that we're sailing through. So not only the river and the history and the nature and the culture, they conduct the port talks. They will tell you all about, they have their own special presentations that you can attend every single day. They come on the shore excursions with us, so you get to talk to them on the shore excursions. You will see them in the dining room. You can have a meal with them. If you're interested in that type of information, they are very friendly, very open, and happy to share all the information. We also have entertainers that come on board maybe for just one performance, like a Mark Twain impersonator. So when we are in sailing in the upper Mississippi, and we are going through Mark Twain's hometown, he comes on board. We have in the Pacific Northwest the chief of the tribe who tells us how it was to live on a reservation, or what kind of a cultural influence the tribe has. So there's all kinds of entertainment and enrichment options on our voyages. Now, all of your, every single port of call, we have guided shore excursions included. Now, these are conducted in a way of hop on, hop off shore excursions. And you get, these motor coaches travel with us all throughout the cruise. So they are our extension on land. So you'll see the same drivers in every port of call. They are super friendly, super helpful. You will always recognize the motor coach, because of course the decal will match the ship. And this is the type of a map that you received the night before for the place that we're visiting the next day. So as you can see, this is a sample of Natchez. We have 10 stops on our motor coach tour, and the map will tell you exactly all the admissions are included for you. And the map will show you on the other side description of each of the place, what it is, how much time you should allocate maybe to see it. So you have a choice of just sitting on the motor coach and doing the loop and listening to the local guide's presentation, or you can get on and get off. The motor coach leaves every half an hour from the ship, and you never have to wait more than 15-20 minutes in between the stops. But you also have the option to walk in between the stops if you just want to get a little bit more active. Now, we have complimentary Wi-Fi on the ship as well as on the motor coaches. So you get to be not only connected with your family and friends, but also you get to look up some information. If you're somewhere and you want to know a little bit more about the stop, you can find out a little bit more because you have free Wi-Fi on board. We don't include airfare. That is up to your Expedia Cruises travel advisor to provide you with. And we do not include gratuities. Everything else, as I've told you, pretty much included. It's an all-inclusive fare. The gratuity suggested amount is about $19.50 per person per day, and it gets distributed between housekeeping, dining room service, bartenders, and the motor coach drivers. So you don't have to every day when you're getting on and off the motor coach be tipping the driver. They are pooled in the gratuity amount together with everybody else. The only ones that are not covered would be maybe the local guides. If you are happy with their presentation and if you're happy with the tour that they've provided you with on the motor coach, we suggest maybe $3 to $5 tip for the guides. We offer premium shore excursions available on top of the hop-on, hop-off guided ones that we provide. So if you want to do a round of golf, visit a museum, have a cooking lesson with celebrity chef Regina Charbonneau, you can purchase that as well. The good thing about these premium shore excursion is that you get to select them up to 6 months prior to your departure. But if along the way you change your mind, you get on board, let's say, and you decide that that's not the one you wanted to do because somebody else provided maybe a different suggestion. You can cancel these and get a full refund up to 48 hours prior to the shore excursion departure. So that is, or you can switch to something else. So it's fairly flexible. So if you want to guarantee your spot, you can book up to 6 months in advance and cancel up to 48 hours prior. The one thing that we, as I was mentioning, would be maybe the additional hotel nights. They would include a transfer from the hotel, various meals and activities, sometimes exclusive activities that you cannot get anywhere else. And you can get a detailed description. We have these available in every port of embarkation and disembarkation, and they are always a 2-night addition. So if it's a pre-cruise and you're already spending a 1 night in New Orleans, you get an additional 2 nights. You can also do them post-cruise, let's say 2 days in Memphis. Now, we have a lot of offers available for you for both 2021 and 2022 departures. A lot of these options currently expire on June 30th, but we'll let you know if these get extended. For 2021, we have a risk-free booking policy. So if you book before June 30th, a 2021 departure, and let's say you decide to go in the fall and something, maybe something doesn't open as fast as we've hoped for, you get to cancel up to 60 days prior to departure with a full refund. And then within 60 days, you can just move to another departure. So that's always good. And as a special thank you for your attendance and your time today, we are adding a $50 per person onboard credit that you can use for a premium shore experience or your drinks or a massage or any your boutique purchase. And that would be combinable with any other offer that we have available for you. And that's it for me. I hope that you enjoyed the presentation and that you would consider Mississippi or the Pacific Northwest as your close to home destination for your next departure. Amanda, do we have any questions?
We do. We have a lot of questions for you.
Oh.
Mostly from Dave. Dave is very inquisitive. So, how many people can sit in the show versus guests on the ship?
Okay, so on the Duchess, all of the guests can sit in the show. On the other 3, we have 2 shows. So on the Queen, it always goes with the dining. So if there is an early and late seating, then there's an early and late show.
That makes sense. That's usually people like to eat and then see the show.
Absolutely. That's the good order.
The next question is there an upper and lower Mississippi sailing that includes some cost savings? So like a combination?
Yes, absolutely. You can do an upper and lower Mississippi. So our typical lower Mississippi voyage is a 7-night on the ship and a 1 night in a hotel. So you're talking 8 nights, 9 days vacation. If you want to do a combination of an upper and lower Mississippi, you are looking at least 16 days, and we have sailings that are 16 to 23 days. Now, those are not every week, obviously, or every 2 weeks. Those are special sailings when you get to combine where the ship actually continues, obviously, all the way to Red Wing. But we do have them throughout the year, and they could be anywhere from 16 to 23 days long. In either direction. You can start in Minneapolis or you can start in New Orleans.
Okay, and I guess the second part of that question is there savings by doing it that way?
Absolutely. There's always on the longer voyages, obviously, we are not making you book it as 2 sailings. It's 1 sailing, but it already is costed in a way that it's a cost effective than buying 2 cruises. Absolutely.
Okay. Next question. Are there any issues with flooding or low water levels?
We haven't, it's been a few years since we've had a low water level, and that's the beauty of our motor coaches. So if it happens that there is an area that has lower water, what happens is that we cover the land and we take the clients in the motor coach. But it's been a few years that it has happened. But yes, absolutely. Mississippi, just like any other river, there could be flooding. The smokestacks actually fold, so we can go under the bridges if there is a high water. It's usually the lower water that might be a problem, but these are very shallow river vessels. So we've been very fortunate, not a lot of cancellations or issues at all.
Great. What are the rainy months?
Well, there really isn't a rainy month. It's more of a really hot and humid, and that's the June, July, August. And we might have quick showers, but it's not like it's pouring all day long. You know what I mean? It's a quick shower, it's over with, but it's usually the lower Mississippi, July and August, stifling hot. Like you think 100 Fahrenheit, right? Like it's hot. I sailed in November, and it was comfortable. It was definitely not like, so we started in New Orleans and it was 35 degrees, hot, sunny. But throughout the rest of the week, it was maybe 15, 20 degrees. Very comfortable for the touring and the sightseeing, but definitely not tiring hot. We are on the Mississippi year-round because it is a destination. It's a year-round destination. We even have Christmas departures, holiday departures, Christmas departures. It's actually quite festive. All the plantation houses get all decorated in Christmas. The staff is in the costumes. There's these bonfires on the levee, which is, it's an old legend where the children in down south were worried that Papa Noel would not find them at Christmas. So they built these bonfires. So as the ship sails by, you see these bonfires and there's a lot of fireworks, and it's a festive season, and it's really any time of the year, there's always something nice and different.
Okay, thank you. How much time would we have at each port to tour?
Okay, so we usually are in port first thing in the morning. The first motor coach would depart, let's say 8 o'clock. When we have a full day in port, we're there till 5 or 6. As I explained, sometimes going upriver, the traffic is slower and we may have to leave port at 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon just to make up the time. When you're going downriver from Memphis to New Orleans, it's always a full day. It's 8 to 6 all day, every day. You have plenty of time. These voyages have been designed in a way that you have enough time to do the hop on, hop off tour and enjoy that experience and seeing all the sights in the city or the town or wherever we are. And then still be able to, if you want to, do the optional or the premium shore experience and do something extra either in the morning or in the afternoon before. Or you can just grab a book and enjoy, enjoy your veranda. It really is as busy as you want it to be, but it could also be a very relaxing, just watching the river flow by.
Right. So it sounds like it's best to go sail downriver if you want more time.
Well, it depends. Yes, if you're more active and if you want to do a lot of things and have 4 days in port and not have a 1 day sailing, because going downriver, you don't have any days on the water, just sailing. It's all every day in port. So yes, going Memphis to New Orleans is the faster, more active itinerary.
Okay. What are the cost differences between standard rooms and suites?
Well,
the percentage.
It's hard to say. I mean, especially now, we have some really good deals. I mean, we have departures starting at $7.99. This is an all-inclusive, so it all depends. Let's say if you're stateroom with a veranda was $19.99, let's say. So the suite would probably be $3,400. Because
fair.
you're getting maybe 2.5 times more square footage, right? So there is some. It's not a formula of a percentage. It all depends on the ship. Each ship is priced differently. It depends on the itinerary, on the time of the year, on how, like how that specific departure is selling may also make a difference. So if you are in a sailing in between two holidays, let's say between American Thanksgiving and Christmas, there might be a little slower time, let's say, right? So if that sailing is available, it is priced more appealingly than a high season departure, right? So you can get that suite at a lower cost depending on when you go.
Exactly. Okay, that makes sense. How many different shows are on a ship each night?
So each night is a one show. Okay. So it could be a Broadway style type of a show. It could be a comedy act. It could be a duo, or 3 people entertaining you. It could be a guest walk-on entertainment, or there's also a lot of times we have the main show in the lounge, but there's always something going on in the library, for example. So there could be a music show in the library while the main show is taking place in the lounge. The show is always different. There's no repetition. There could be a cabaret. It's different every single day. Now, this is not like on a big ship, right, where they have 20, 30, 40 entertainers. This is still a kind of a small ensemble of staff, but different show every single night.
Awesome. The last question I have, do you clearly identify local guides versus prepaid guides?
I am not 100% sure how I understand that. Okay, so the local guides that we hire come on the motor coach, and they sit on the motor coach with a microphone, and they do a talk about about everything that you're seeing, not only out the window, but what you're gonna see, what the next stop is, what to watch for. So that's included. So I am not sure the paid guide. Because even if you go on the shore excursion that you pay for in addition, the premium ones, let's say the golf or ATV or zip lining or the cooking lessons with Regina Charbonneau, then there's, again, you've paid for that. That's included.
Yes, I don't understand the question fully.
Yeah, I am not 100% sure. So I know I'm probably not answering it, but I just don't know. There's only one guide. In either way, it's either included in your cruise fare or you've paid for it as an extra excursion, and it's again included because it's already paid for. So, right.
But they're local people and they know the area.
Absolutely, yes. So the Riverboats, who is doing the presentations on board, the lectures and the port talks, he travels with us on the boat. That's different from the people who join us on the motor coaches when we do the shore excursions or when we go through the battlefields in Vicksburg. Those are all local guys. They're experts on the area that we're sailing in, and they just come on for the day, and then we unfortunately don't see them again.
Okay. And the tips are not included for the guides?
No, yeah. So these on the motor coach, and again, it's all voluntary, right? But if you're on the motor coach, you've done the loop, you've enjoyed the commentary, and then when you get on the next motor coach, let's say, there's a different guide because we have more than one motor coach going. So if you do the whole loop with one guide, and you've really enjoyed the presentation, you know, you can tip. Obviously, nobody's going to stop you, but you don't have to. The suggested amount is $3 to $5 per person, but it's not necessary. They are obviously paid by the company to do this. This is their job. So tip is an addition. There's also a situation where when you've got off every single stop, that you don't end up with the same guide again. So what I found when I went on my own is that if I really enjoyed a particular guide, as soon as she started talking, you know, or he, from the ship, before you even get to the first stop, and you find that, oh my God, she's got so much information, you really want to hear more. I am not getting off that motor coach until I hear the whole thing. And then I do a second loop, and that's when I started getting off, because then you risk that when you get back on, you get somebody else. I'm not saying that somebody else isn't as good. They're all good. They're all good. But everybody has a different style of presentation, right? And of tidbits of information and stuff. So those are all included with the motor coach, but we usually have 4 or 5 motor coaches going depending on the ship. The smaller ships have maybe 3, the bigger ships have 6 or 7 in order to accommodate all the guests. And of course, now we are also traveling with on the motor coaches extra spacing. So, you know, we always have to skip a row. So the motor coach that would normally take, let's say, 40 guests is now only going with 20. So we have more of them going.
Right, right. All right. And then one more question popped up here. When are the assured sunny months? And I think you said the sunny months are June, July, and August.
Well, honestly, in the down, it's like when you say, when is sun in Florida? You know, I mean, it's this hot, it's sunny all the time, really. But this hot, and then there's the more bearable, at least for me. So I would say if you really want the heat, then the, you know, May to September is going to be really hot. The because of the hurricane season, September, October, you might have a little bit more rain, but you will have sun no matter what time of the year you go. Especially in the lower Mississippi, obviously, not right. The upper Mississippi. Yeah.
Okay.
They have the same seasons like we do in the upper Mississippi. So in, you know, spring and summer will be warmer, and fall and winter will be cooler. And
perfect. Okay, I think that is all of the questions.
Well, if anyone thinks of anything, of course, they can reach out to you guys directly, and you know where to find me, and I can get you an answer. I can absolutely help you out. I know it's a lot of information to absorb all at the same time, but just think of it, you know, close to home, all inclusive. If you don't do any special drinks and any special extra trips, pretty much the fare that you pay before you go is the fare that you disembark with. And it's a really nice experience. We are a little bit more active on the Columbia and the Snake River. So if you are out looking for more of the scenery and active, the hikes, the zip lining and stuff, the Pacific Northwest is the place to go. If you're more into the history, the cuisine, and just overall the South, I personally, the first time I went, I have never been in anywhere, you know, the Mississippi, and it was a very pleasant surprise. I didn't know what to expect, and it is a beautiful area to explore, and so much interesting history down there.
Wonderful. Well, thank you very much, Olga. I think you know, everybody wants to go now. We want to all go anywhere right now.
Yeah.
But this is very interesting. Lots of history, lots of culture. So definitely, if you have questions, reach out to your Expedia office, and or your consultant will be thrilled to help you. So thank you, everyone, for attending. Thank you, Olga, for presenting.
Thank you for having me.
It was wonderful. You did a fabulous job. So everybody, thank you very much, and have a great night.
Good night, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.